Well, joining us live now from the standpoint of an environmentalist to break down this appointment and establishment of committees is Desmond Majekodumi, a prominent climate action crusader. Hello, sir. We're glad you could join us today. Good evening.
Good evening. Great to be with you.
Yes. Now, looking at this appointment and this establishment of this committee by President Bola Tinubu, is this a demonstration of political will? And, beyond these announcements, what more do you expect to see?
Well, we are very, very encouraged by this appointment and also the establishment of this industrial city, this industrial base. It's very encouraging indeed, particularly putting somebody in there with the intellectual capacity of Nguri himself, and there's also some pretty good distinguished members on the committee. So this is very, very encouraging indeed, because, what are we dealing with? We're dealing with what has been classified by the United Nations as the biggest problem facing humanity. And definitely Nigeria, as the giant of Africa, has to stand and lead the way in finding different ways of resolving this problem. And you know what is even more exciting about it? It's a multi-ministerial committee. Many of the very key ministries are involved in this. Again, as much as the good work that these ministries are doing or trying to do or mandated to do are important, if we don't get it right with preserving the environment, which after all is our life support system, then all the other work that all the other committees, all the other ministries are going to do would become null and void. We've got to preserve our life support system.
Okay,
so we're excited.
Mr. Desmond, let's talk about policies now that would help propel this climate action. What kind of policies are we looking at, or are we suggesting the government to formulate, and what existing policies do we have that you say would need to be repealed or reenacted, as it were?
Very, very, very good. Well, it looks as if there is a serious declaration to transit to zero carbon energy, to clean energy. Because the biggest problem that's causing all this climate change, global warming issue is the fact that there's far too much pollution of the greenhouse gas CO2. And it looks as if there's a serious recognition of this and that they want to start a process that will transit to clean energy. But also, it looks as if the industrial city could pioneer the way for Nigeria to be one of the greatest manufacturers of this clean energy systems, using clean energy to produce clean energy. This is very encouraging because we have all the resources. We've got a lot of sunlight, we've got a lot of sun warmth. In a lot of areas, we have wind as well. So this is also very good, but also the various agencies that protect the environment, particularly the forest agencies in the Ministry of Agriculture and the Environment, they need to be empowered because it's all very well reducing the carbon pollution. But we also have a wonderful ace in our pack in West Africa is the tropical rainforest. We still have quite a bit of rainforest left, although massive amounts of it are being destroyed, even under the watch of the various ministries involved. And this is totally unacceptable. Then, of course, things like plastic waste. Variously, the ministries of environment in the various states, they need to be encouraged, particularly Lagos. Lagos is really setting the trend now in terms of clean systems for looking after the environment and lack of pollution. So far more encouragement and get it on. It's very encouraging. We're quite excited about this. This is a good step in the right direction, but a lot more will need to be done. And it's not going to be easy because Nigeria is an oil and gas economy. But it looks as if our president is understanding of this and he wants to transit into clean energy. Very, very, very encouraging indeed.
Okay, let's talk about some of the consequences now of climate change. I'm talking about displacement, human security, and migration. You know, despite all of the efforts we have seen in terms of achieving this climate action or drawing Nigeria closer to achieving this climate action, all of these goals are set. We still have these issues prevalent. We still have displacements happening around the country. We still have issues of security, insecurity as a result of this climate change is still upon us. How much more do we need to do to curb all of these?
I think we should just declare into our nation, let there be light. And I'm talking of making that declaration into practicality and ensure that energy systems are set up. And I believe there's some moves in that direction, even though a lot of those energy systems are with the polluting petrol and diesel, but there's a move towards using natural gas, which is much cleaner, but it's still a fossil fuel. I think once we can supply electricity to the vast majority of our nation, also using solar cells, there's nothing wrong. You know, we started an initiative many years ago to try to introduce these solar cells into the rural areas, and it can be done. The technology to do it is there. Once we can electrify our nation, let there be light in our nation, we shall see that every other thing that is causing problems, especially like the security and so on, it'll be reduced. Because part of the reason for the insecurity is the desperation of people who cannot run their businesses, just little businesses. If it's a barber shop or if it's just a hairdresser shop, you're using generator all the time and the generator is poisonous anyway. So yeah, let there be light in our nation. And then of course, the green, let's put the green back in Nigeria. There's a reason why our flag is green, white, and green. We're an agricultural nation. We can be exporting agricultural produce to all parts of the world. We have the different types of terrain to do it. So electricity and greening our nation, this will make a tremendous difference. And the giant of Africa shall no longer be an embarrassment. She shall stand up and lead the way.
Okay, let's talk about the nationally determined contribution targets now. That's the Paris Agreement. Under the Paris Agreement, now where are we in meeting these? Will you say Nigeria has maybe taken some steps closer to achieving that nationally determined contributions?
I'm glad you brought that up, because that Paris Agreement that was taken in 2015. The Secretary General of the United Nations at that conference in Paris, where 90%, 95% of world leaders were there, he said, mankind is waging war against nature, and this is suicidal. He used that frame. He said suicidal, because we are destroying our life support system. And all the countries, including Nigeria, we signed up that we're going to reduce this carbon dioxide. We're going to reduce the greenhouse gas in 2015. By 2023, the amount of greenhouse gas in the global atmosphere had never been higher. And this is really, really worrying. When all the leaders of the world can get together and say they're going to do something that is going to prevent catastrophic consequences to the life support system of our planet, and they end up not doing it. Now, in fairness to Nigeria, she is a small contributor. A lot of the African countries and other nations like that are not really very, very big contributors. But every little drop makes a difference. So it was very, very disappointing. And it's a wake-up call. It's a definite wake-up call to the leadership. Because, you know, if we look at it from the spiritual perspective, you know, what you sow is what you reap. And that's why the United Nations said we're committing suicide, because nature always fights back.
Yeah.
And so we need to really, really, you know, take this opportunity to make radical changes in our attitudes towards our life support system, our children's life support system. Nigeria hasn't done enough, but from what I'm seeing now, there's a good chance that she will, that she can lead the way. This industrial green city is really fantastic.
All right, and indeed, we'll stay hopeful. There's more to still look forward to. Thank you so much, Desmond Majekodumi, environmental activist. Thank you, and good to see you. Well.